The Burj Khalifa is the tallest building on Earth, half a mile of glass and steel scraping the sky. Now here's something insane. There's a building Saudi Arabia started constructing that's so massive, you could lay the Burj Khalifa down inside it and still have room left over. You could stack about 20 Empire State Buildings in it and still not fill the space. It's not a tower, it's a cube. 400 meters tall, 400 meters wide, 400 meters deep. A perfect cube so enormous it doesn't even feel like a building. It feels like something dropped out of the sky. They call it the Mukaab. Inside that cube, a tower over 300 meters high, twisting up out of a spiraling base, wrapped in the largest immersive screen ever designed. A digital sky that could turn the entire interior into outer space, a rainforest, or the surface of another planet. Price tag, $50 billion. Inside it, over 100,000 homes, 9,000 hotel rooms, entire neighborhoods. A complete city, sealed inside a single building. It was meant to be the boldest structure of the 21st century. And the construction numbers are just as crazy. Crews dug out over 10 million cubic meters of earth, enough to bury thousands of homes. The foundations were going in. This thing was actually happening. And then, in early 2026, it just stopped. Saudi Arabia quietly hit pause on the most ambitious building on the planet, and almost nobody outside the region even noticed. So what exactly was the Mukaab? How do you even engineer something this insane? And why would a country tear a 10 million cubic meter hole in the ground, pour in billions, and then walk away from it? Stick with me, because the answer is wilder than the building itself. Quick thing before we dig in. I want your gut reaction right now. One word in the comments. Should Saudi Arabia finish this thing or let it go? By the end of this video, you'll have a strong opinion. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. A cube in the desert. To understand the Mukaab, you have to understand the ambition behind it. Over the last decade, Saudi Arabia has been pouring its oil wealth into a series of jaw-dropping mega projects under a national plan called Vision 2030. A push to transform the kingdom's economy away from oil, technology, and entertainment. The Mukaab was meant to be its equally radical cousin, planted right in the heart of the capital. On the 15th of February, 2023, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman officially unveiled it to the world. The Mukaab, the Arabic word for cube, would be the anchor of a brand new downtown district called New Murabba. And the renders that dropped that day looked like pure science fiction. A colossal cube clad in patterned metal, glowing against the Riyadh skyline, with an interior that seemed to bend reality itself. And here's a detail a lot of people miss. As futuristic as it looks, the design wasn't pulled out of thin air. The cube's name and form were inspired by the traditional Murabba palace and classic Najdi architecture from Central Arabia. The geometric patterns, the clean lines, the earthy tones of old desert fortresses. The whole idea was to take something ancient and Saudi and blow it up to a scale the world had never seen. Old soul, impossible body. The project was handed to a heavyweight engineering and design firm, AtkinsRéalis, and backed by the Public Investment Fund, Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund, one of the largest pools of money on the planet. This wasn't a fantasy sketch. Money was committed, ground was chosen, the dream was officially alive. Saudi Arabia is set to host a string of massive global events over the coming years, including a World Expo in Riyadh in 2030 and the FIFA World Cup in 2034. The Mukaab was meant to be the kingdom's showpiece, the building the whole world would point to and say, only Saudi Arabia could build that. It wasn't just architecture. It was a statement of national ambition, a flag planted in the future, and a signal that the era of oil money was being converted into something you could walk inside. Chapter 2. a city inside a single building. Let's talk about the sheer scale, because this is where the Mukaab stops sounding like a building and starts sounding like a small planet. The cube was designed to measure 400 meters on every side. To put that in perspective, it was tall enough to rank among the tallest structures in the world, but unlike a skinny skyscraper, it had that same length and depth too. Inside, the plan called for around 2 million square meters of floor space. That would have made it one of the single largest buildings anywhere on Earth, going toe-to-toe with record holders like the Boeing factory in Washington State. It was designed as a fully integrated urban hub, mixing homes, hotels, offices, shops, restaurants, and cultural attractions, all stacked inside one structure. This is why people called it a city inside a building. The cube alone was meant to be a destination, and the wider new Murabba district around it, a 19 square kilometer downtown, was planned to hold over 100,000 homes and was pitched as the world's largest modern downtown. Everything you need to live, work, and play, all within a 15-minute walk. Real quick, if your brain is melting at these numbers like mine did, do me a favor and hit subscribe. At Buildora, we break down the most insane megastructures ever attempted. Is building a whole city inside one giant cube a brilliant idea or a recipe for disaster? Now let's get into how you'd even build something like this, because the engineering is unreal. Chapter 3. The engineering and the tech. So how do you actually build a 400-meter cube? It starts, like everything in construction, underground. And the groundwork alone was staggering. By the middle of 2025, excavation for the Mukaab had reached around 86% of the required volume. That meant over 10 million cubic meters of earth had already been dug out and hauled away. Not a single building. To handle the sheer logistics, crews even built a temporary bridge over a major road, King Khalid Road, just to move heavy machinery and material without choking the city's traffic. This is the unglamorous reality of mega projects. Before a single dramatic render becomes real, you need armies of excavators, dump trucks, and piling rigs working a site for years just to prepare the ground. And consider the engineering problem hiding in that desert soil. A building this heavy needs an absolutely massive, perfectly stable foundation. You're effectively planting a structure the weight of a small mountain onto the ground and asking it not to settle, crack, or shift over decades, which can punish concrete and steel during curing. None of this is visible in the glossy renders, but it's where most of the early billions actually go. Now the structure itself. The Mukaab wasn't designed as a solid block. The vision was a cube-shaped outer shell wrapping a vast hollow interior, and rising up inside it, a tower more than 300 meters tall sitting on a spiraling, terraced base, like the ancient step pyramids of Mesopotamia. Visitors would move through this internal world almost like a vertical city, but the real showstopper was the technology. The interior was designed around the largest immersive digital display on the planet, an enormous dome and wraparound screens powered by artificial intelligence and advanced holographics. The idea was that the inside of the cube could transform completely. One moment you're standing under a digital desert sky full of stars, the next you're walking through a virtual rainforest or floating in space. It was pitched as the world's first truly immersive destination, layer on smart city systems, climate control across that enormous volume, and the structural challenge of holding a tower inside a cube. And you start to see why this was one of the most technically ambitious buildings ever drawn. Chapter 4. The $50 billion question. Here's where the dream meets reality. And with the Mukaab, the reality came with an eye-watering price tag. The wider new Murabba development was estimated at around $50 billion. A figure so large it's been compared to the entire annual economic output of some countries. The promise was huge. Backers said the project would add billions to Saudi Arabia's economy and create hundreds of thousands of jobs. But promises and spreadsheets are very different things. Now, unlike a lot of the historic mega projects we cover on this channel, The Mukaab does not have a tragic construction death toll, and that's an important honesty point. It never rose high enough for that. The cost of the Mukaab wasn't measured in lives. It was measured in money, in risk, and in something harder to put a number on. Because from the moment it was revealed, the Mukaab's shape sparked an intense debate. A massive black-clad cube in the country that is the custodian of Islam's holiest sites drew immediate comparisons to the Kaaba, the sacred cube-shaped structure in Mecca that around 1.8 billion Muslims around the world pray toward. Some religious scholars and commentators online questioned whether a giant commercial cube in downtown Riyadh was an uncomfortable echo of something sacred. The developers never officially acknowledged the comparison and deliberately kept the branding secular. But the visual parallel was impossible to ignore, and it added a layer of political and cultural sensitivity that most pure construction projects never have to face. And underneath all of it sat that $50 billion question. The Mukaab was a commercial building with no guaranteed tenants. Its entire business case rested on the assumption that Riyadh's market would somehow fill 2 million square meters of floor space. That's an enormous bet. And bets that big don't always survive contact with a changing economy. Chapter 5. They dug 10 million tons, then stopped, which brings us to the twist. In late January 2026, the news quietly broke. Saudi Arabia had suspended construction of the Mukaab. After all that excavation, all those renders, all that ambition, work beyond the soil and the foundation pilings was halted while the kingdom reassessed the project's financing and feasibility. The most ambitious building on the planet was, for now, frozen in a giant hole in the ground. And here's the nuance that matters. This was not an official cancellation. The Mukaab isn't dead. It's in that strange limbo that mega projects enter when the will to fund them weakens. But the cost of admitting failure is too high. The development company still exists. The renders still circulate. The surrounding real estate in New Murabba is reportedly continuing. But the cube itself slipped out of the spotlight, and some reports suggested its timeline could be pushed back by many years, possibly into the 2040s if it happens at all. So why pause something this iconic? The honest answer is that the economics shifted. Oil revenues, competing mega projects, the eye-watering cost, the lack of a proven revenue model, and a kingdom quietly tightening its belt and reprioritizing spending toward infrastructure, technology, and industry. When the numbers stopped adding up, even the boldest cube on Earth couldn't escape the spreadsheet. The dream ran straight into the dream's price tag, and the Mukaab isn't alone. Across the kingdom, several of these headline-grabbing Vision 2030 projects have quietly been scaled back, delayed, or rethought as the true costs came into focus. The line, that famous mirrored city, has reportedly been trimmed far below its original promises. It turns out that announcing the most ambitious buildings in human history is the easy part. Actually financing them, filling them, and finishing them, that's where ambition meets gravity. The Mukaab became the clearest symbol of that collision, a building so big, so bold, and so expensive that it may have been impossible from the very beginning. So what's your verdict now? Was the Mukaab a visionary leap that was simply ahead of its time? Or a $50 billion fantasy that was never going to work? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story gripped you, you have to see what's on screen right now. I just broke down another megastructure that pushed ambition way past the breaking point. Click it and let's keep exploring. I'm really glad you're here at Buildora. I'll see you in the next one.